We are looking at the rules for adding and subtracting decimals. We have 5 rules that I wrote out here. It says, first thing you want to do is rewrite the problem and line up the decimal points. Second step, rewrite the numbers in their proper place, meaning the ones in the ones position, the tens in the tens position. They need to line up. So behind the decimal, line up the tenths position, the hundredths position. Third rule, put zeros in for fillers. This helps visually. If you don't have a number that matches up with it, then add a 0. Fourth, bring down the decimal point in your answer column before you add or subtract. And then the 5th rule is then you just add or subtract the numbers. So if we look at some of our practice problems, we'll look at problem number 1. We have decimal points in there and we're subtracting, so we have to follow these rules that we see above us. All right, so let me grab a color. First thing I need to do is rewrite the problem and line up the decimal points. So to do that, I just write the first number, 345.61. Rule is line up the decimal point. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. Then I'm going to line up the rest of the numbers. So behind the decimal, the second one is a 0, and that should match up with the 6. And I have a 5, match up with the 1. To the left of the decimal point of an 8, that should match up with the 5, which is in the ones position, and then a 9 next to that. I don't have a number that matches up with a 3, so I'm going to put a 0 as a filler. So visually I have something there. Okay, and check your operation. I'm subtracting. Okay, so the next step says drop your decimal point down, go straight down. Then I start subtracting. So I have 1, take away 5, which is not possible. Switch up my color. Since it's not possible, I have to borrow. I can only borrow from the number right to the left of that. So I can borrow a whole number from 6, makes that a 5, and that's my tens position, so it makes this an 11. So an 11 take away 5 is 6. That there. 5 take away 0 is 5. Now I'm moving to the left of the decimal point. Make sure you're putting your numbers in the proper place. So I have 5 take away 8. That's not possible, so I need to borrow from the number right to the left of that, which is 4, so I need to borrow a whole from that. Makes that a 3, makes this a 15. 15 take away 8 is 5, 6, 7. Drop that straight down. 3 take away 9, not possible. I can only borrow from the number to the left of it, which is a 3. Takes a whole number away from that, makes that a 2, makes this a 13. So 13 take away 9 is 4. Drop that down. 2 take away 0 is 2. So my answer for number 1 should be 247.56. It is really important where that decimal point is located. If it's in between the 4 and the 7, it's wrong. If it's in between the 5 and 6, it's wrong. Very critical where the decimal point is. So if we look at number 2, change up my color. We have 78.7 take away 2.29. So they're decimals and you're subtracting, so I have to follow these rules. So I write my first number, 78.7, and the rule says rewrite the problem and line up the decimal point. So the first thing I write is the decimal point. Then I put the numbers in. So to the left of the decimal point I have a 2. Matches up with the 8. To the right of the decimal point I have a 2. That matches up with the 7. Then I have a 9. I don't have any number above the 9, so I'm going to add a 0. I don't have a number below the 7, so I'm going to add a 0. Okay, so I'm going to draw my line. And I'm subtracting. Okay, so the next rule says once they're lined up and you have the decimal points lined up and you wrote the numbers in the proper place and you added zeros for fillers, I'm going to bring down my decimal point, read in the answer column. So it's right there. Now I'm going to subtract. So 0 take away 9. That's not possible. I don't have anything to take 9 away from. So I have to borrow. That's another reason why you want to add those zeros as a filler, because if you didn't have that 0 there, I see a lot of students automatically drop that 9 down. Well, there's nothing there to subtract it. Yeah, there is. There's a 0. 0 take away 9. We all know that's not possible. So I have to borrow from the 7, makes that a 6, makes this a 10. So 10 take away 9. 1. 6 take away 2. That's a 4. Make that better. Okay. Now to the left of the decimal point, 8 take away 2, 6, 7 take away 0, 7. So the problem itself is not that hard, but I do see this as the biggest mistake. Students not putting a 0 there, therefore they drop the 9 down automatically. You cannot do that. So my answer for number 2 should be 76.41. All right, so let's move on. Looking at problem 3 here. Okay, we have 23.876 plus 54.01. Okay, you're adding and you have decimal points. So the rule says you rewrite the problem, lining up the decimals. That decimal there, 8, 7, 6. And I line up my decimal points, put that there. To the left of it, I have a 4. To the left of that 4, I have a 5, which should be matching up with the 2. To the right of the decimal point, I have a 0. To the right of that, I have a 1, should be lining up with the 7. I don't have anything here, so I'm going to add a 0. Okay, rewrote it. My number's in the correct spot. Next step is to add the decimal point. Drop it straight down, and then start adding. 6 plus 0, 6, 7 plus 1, 8, 8 plus 0, 8. To the left of the decimal point, 3 plus 4, 7, 2 plus 5, 7. So my answer for number 3 should be 77.886. Remember, keep your eye on that decimal point. Make sure they're lined up. Make sure it's in the correct spot. So our last example problem that I'm going to do with you is number 4. So I have 98.34. 98.34. And I'm adding 15.3. So I'm adding with decimals, so I know my rule. Line up the decimal points and then put the numbers in the proper place. To the right of the decimal, I have a 3. I don't have anything that matches up with 4, so I'm going to put a 0. To the left of the decimal point, I have a 5. To the left of the 5, I have a 1, which should match up with a 9. Draw my line. I'm adding. My rule says drop your decimal point straight down, and then start adding your numbers. 4 plus 0, I have 4. 3 plus 3, I have 6. To the left of the decimal, I have 8 plus 5. So that's 10 plus a 3, so that's 13. Carry my 1. 9, 10, 11. So I'm dropping both numbers down because I don't have anything else to carry over to. So problem number 4, I should have 113.64. So these are some example problems for the rules for adding and subtracting decimals. You have the rules right there on the sheet with you. You have some example problems to look at. Hopefully you find this helpful.